Yeah, I should probably do a year-end list. Hello everyone, and welcome to the big end of the year best and worst awards for 2018. There's not any actual awards involved in this, it's just a dumb title I'm giving this series of videos. Now some of you might be wondering why I did not do one of these last year, and have a very good reason for that. It's because I suck. Yeah, I had fully intended to do a best and worst list at the end of last year, but it just never ended up happening, and I kept pushing it off, and then finally just got to the point where it didn't make sense to do it anymore, so I didn't. But it is still the beginning of 2019, sort of, and I am going to be putting out a couple of these videos this year because they're awesome. I love year-end lists, I think they're great, and so I'm very excited to be doing my first ever annual best and worst of 2018. Now before I get into it, I want to give a few caveats about these lists. First, I'm only going to be talking about things that I actually saw this year, and while I saw a decent number of things, there was a lot that I missed because once again, I suck. Usually I'm really on top of trying to stay on top of movies and shows and everything throughout the year, but 2018 started off strong and then it just kind of like petered off about halfway through. So I'm gonna work with what I got here. Basically what that means is if there's something that I didn't talk about that's not on my list that maybe you felt like should have been on my list, there's a very good possibility I just didn't see it. So, sorry. Second, I am not going to be doing a numbered system. I know a lot of other people, they do like a top 10 list for these types of things, and I like that. I think it's a fantastic idea, but I also find it to be just a little bit limiting. So instead what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be talking about my favorite things that I saw last year and the things that I really did not like so much, in no particular order. So without further ado, here are my favorite films of 2018. But before we talk about 2018 proper, I just want to give a few shout outs to a couple of things that I saw for the first time in 2018, but that did not technically come out in 2018. First up, we have My Life as a Zucchini, which is definitely the saddest thing I saw all year, but also the most bittersweet and most touching thing that I watched all year as well. I thought for sure after the opening scene of this movie that the whole thing was just going to be a giant sob fest, and while it's definitely sad and it tugs at your heartstrings in the most genuine and raw way possible, that's not really what it is. At the end of it, the film really comes down to being something about hope and finding the little things in life that make you happy, even when everything else around you seems to be falling apart and nothing seems good. It was just such a sweet, such a well done movie with some really tough subject matter, and I loved it. Next up, we have Gerald's Game, or as I like to call it, an exercise in how to adapt a Stephen King novel correctly. Most of the credit here definitely has to be given to the filmmaker himself, Mike Flanagan, who is one of the most talented and best horror filmmakers working in the business today. He is the mind behind Oculus, Hush, and the critically acclaimed Haunting on Hill House, which was just released last October. Gerald's Game is such an exciting and gripping thrill ride, which is really amazing considering that the entire film basically takes place in one location inside of a house with this woman who is trapped on a bed. It's a concept that I can see working really well in a book because you get to explore the character's inner thoughts, but adapting it to a film can be a little tricky because again, film is a visual medium, so you have to find a way to make something like that that's so like self-contained in such a small area really exciting and visually enthralling the whole way through. Safe to say, Mike Flanagan does an excellent job. This is such a thrilling and gripping film. Definitely one of the best Stephen King adaptations I've seen so far, and one of Mike Flanagan's best films to date. Next up, we have the Paul Thomas Anderson masterpiece Boogie Nights, which could also be called Mark Wahlberg and Burt Reynolds Make a Porno. No, seriously, it's about the porn industry in the 70s, and it's pretty great, actually. Are there lots of boobs and butts and sex in this movie? Well, yeah. But the real appeal of this movie is the characters. All the characters in the movie are so interesting, so multi-tiered, so fascinating. They were all such cool people to watch. And I mean, Burt Reynolds, what a man. He is the perfect casting choice to be like the head of this porn production studio that's making all these porn films. Oh my god, it's just such a fun movie. If there was ever a porn that you watched for the story, Boogie Nights is the one. The Truman Show. What is there left to say about The Truman Show? A cult classic, one of Jim Carrey's finest roles still to this very day, The Truman Show is just an amazing film. It is such a great breakdown and satire of our consumeristic culture and media, and it has aged miraculously well. It's almost kind of strange to see something that really, when you're watching it, is very dated just by the visual look of it, but is still so relevant to the way that we live today. The Truman Show has more than lived up to its reputation as a classic film. And finally, we have Chicken Run, which is kind of a cheat because I did see this when I was a kid back when it came out, but I didn't really like it that much. I never really understood this because Chicken Run has received so much praise and acclaim from critics and audiences alike, and so I just didn't understand why I did not like the film that much. I figured there's gotta be something that I'm missing, so I decided to go back and rewatch it this year. And I have to say, I think I was just a little bit too young to get it the first time. Chicken Run is fantastic. Oh my god, it's so funny. And at the same time, it's also really dark with all of its Holocaust imagery. This is a children's film, but like, children aren't gonna get all the dark imagery and dark themes going on in it, but as an adult, you're watching it and thinking, wow, this is really messed up. I think the one thing I didn't really like as a kid, and I still don't like too much now as an adult, is the story about the rooster who says he's gonna teach them all how to fly, but he actually doesn't know how to fly himself. It's that whole liar getting caught in the lie trope, and I just really don't tend to like it in any sort of story. And while I still do not like it in Chicken Run very much, the rest of the film as a whole is just so good that I can't deny this is absolutely a classic. I can't believe I didn't like this as a kid, but I'm so glad I went back and rewatched it. It's an amazing film. If you have not seen Chicken Run, go check it out. All right, so that's enough talking about stuff that didn't come out last year. Now let's finally get to my favorite movies of 2018. Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I am a simple man with simple needs. When Marvel releases a new movie in their cinematic universe, I go watch it, and I typically enjoy it. That's the great thing about Marvel and their cinematic universe is they are remarkably consistent with the quality of their films. Honestly, in all the films that they've released over the past decade, the only two I haven't really liked all that much were The Incredible Hulk and Thor: The Dark World. But outside of that, I've basically loved everything else they've put out. Now, the reason I lumped all three of these together is because I don't necessarily think one is that much better than the other, and it's hard to just pick one to be the best. Now, I do know that Black Panther is the one that's received all of the awards, accolades, and nominations, and rightfully so. I think it's a fantastic film, and it is more than deserving of all the awards and nominations it has received, but I enjoyed all of these films immensely when I saw them. I really enjoyed the messages and social themes presented in Black Panther. Avengers Infinity War was the epic to end all epics, something that we've been building up to for the past 10 years, and by all means should have failed, but you know what? It worked. And then there was Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was just a heck of a great time at the theater. Oh my god, I had so much fun with that movie. I gotta be honest, even though I really liked all of these movies, I think I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp the most out of all of them. I think that's because Ant-Man and the Wasp was the most cohesive, self-contained story and film out of all of them. That can be one of the problems with the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, is that a lot of the time they are so beholden to the world building and the continuity presented in the other films that it can be hard to create a standalone film that really sells itself on its own merits. Ant-Man and the Wasp actually did that. And so you don't have to understand anything about anything else going on in the cinematic universe. It's just Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it was just a great, fun summer popcorn movie. I loved every second of it. Still, all of these films were great. Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man, they were all great films, all really good entries into the Marvel universe. If you like Marvel films, you probably liked these. So, you know, they make my year-end list for sure. A Quiet Place. Oh my god, A Quiet Place was one of the most intense and stressful movie viewing experiences I have had in a very long time. I mean, most of the time when you go to the movies, people are respectful and they will be quiet. But A Quiet Place is a film that literally demands you shut the hell up. I have never been in a theater that was so afraid to so much as breathe for fear of making a sound while this movie was playing. And the worst part is, in the middle of it, I sneezed. And the second I sneezed, I just was like, oh God, I panicked so hard because I was trying so hard not to make a noise the whole movie. This was such a tense and scary movie, and the performances all around were really well done. John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, and the two kids, they all put in fantastic performances. So well done, so gripping, so thrilling. Oh man, I loved this movie. I do kind of feel that the ending was a little bit dumb, just a little bit. But everything else up to that was just so scary and terrifying. The monsters were even really well designed. I loved everything about this movie. I love horror movies in general, but this was a really good one. Good props to you, John Krasinski. You've got talents in front of the screen, behind the camera. You've got my seal of approval, man. Keep doing what you do. Deadpool 2. I mean, what is there to say? It's Deadpool. I will fully admit, Deadpool 2 is basically the same thing as Deadpool 1 done over again. But you know what? I liked that. I thought it was still really funny and really just hilarious. It's such a great upending of the comic book genre. I love Deadpool. He's such a fantastic, hilarious character. I think the biggest reason that this movie worked, honestly, is the same reason that 22 Jump Street worked, in the sense that they recognized it was essentially a retread of the first movie, and they used that to their advantage, and they poked fun at the fact that it was the same thing done over again. Deadpool 2 is basically a parody of itself, which is funny because Deadpool as a whole is just a parody of the whole comic book superhero genre in general. Plus, we were introduced to these fantastic new characters in Domino and Cable, and we even got our very first respectable representation of the Juggernaut, which I've been waiting for forever since X3 The Last Stand. That was not Juggernaut. I don't know what that was. He was kind of funny, but it wasn't Juggernaut. Anyway, Deadpool 2 was hilarious. Loved it so much. Ryan Reynolds is just the perfect casting choice for this. I am so glad that this passion project of his finally got made. So keep it up. I'm looking forward to more Deadpool entries in the future. Mission Impossible Fallout. How on earth are these movies still being made? Actually, better question, how on earth are these movies still this good? So I've done the math on this. This is the 6th entry in this film franchise, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down, and on top of that, it just keeps getting better with every single one. There's no reason why we should be 6 movies deep into this and still be getting such high octane adrenaline pumping action out of these. It's ridiculous, and I love every second of it. Look, I know for a lot of you the Tom Cruise thing is definitely an issue, and I can understand the Tom Cruise fatigue. He seems to pop up in everything all the time, and he's an old man by now. There's no reason he should still be doing this. But you know what? Dude still got it, and the movies he makes, usually fantastic still. It's so frustrating because he is so easy to dislike, but then you see him in something like this, and it's like, why? Why do you have to keep doing this to me? This is amazing. Please give me more, Tom. I am your disciple. Mission Impossible Fallout is phenomenal. It's one of the best entries in this series. Not like there's any truly bad ones, maybe the second one, but still, this franchise is going strong. It looks like it's going to continue going strong. I love these movies, and I'm so glad that they continue to make them. You know what? Keep making them. If they're gonna continue to be this good, why not? Overlord. So, funny story about this. When I went to see this, it was in the morning. I went to see a matinee showing, and I was the only one in line, and so I was talking to the guy who sold me the ticket up there, and we were just chatting it up a little bit, and before I went in, he was saying that Overlord is basically the closest thing we're ever going to get to a Wolfenstein movie. And he was right. It's got Nazis, it's got zombies, it's got super soldiers, got lots of blood and action. What more could you possibly want out of this? I was actually really afraid that this was going to be like a stupid B-level dumb horror gore movie, and it's definitely not. I mean, it draws a lot of influence from that sort of horror genre, But this is just one hell of a ride. Oh my god. Perhaps the best thing about Overlord is that it starts off as just a World War II movie. There's nothing like weird or different about it. It's just a World War II movie about these guys who have to go take out a Nazi tower. And it's really good. Just from the beginning, just that story alone was really good. And then you get to add in Nazi zombie super soldiers and all this high octane action and just gore and blood and oh my god, it gets crazy. This movie is awesome. I loved it so much. It's really a shame that this was not marketed very well and that it underperformed at the box office, because this was honestly one of the best action movies of the year. Right behind maybe Mission Impossible Fallout, but outside of that, this thing was amazing. A super underrated horror action movie. If you have not seen Overlord, please go see it. It's so good. Stranger Things 2 and Godless. Now, I'm fully aware that these are not movies, but I'm including them on this list anyway because it's my list and they were both really, really good that I had to include them. It felt wrong to leave them off a year-end best of list. There isn't really a whole lot else to say about Stranger Things at this point. It's the little show that could. It's just so creepy and dark and mesmerizing and definitely the most binge-worthy show I've ever seen. Really looking forward to Stranger Things 3. I cannot wait to see what they have in store for us, and I'm really excited to see how they wrap up this whole story that they've created. It's so fascinating, so wonderful. But really, as much as I liked Stranger Things 2, I have to say, I honestly think Godless was the standout series on Netflix this year. Godless just came out of nowhere and laid the smackdown on all the feels. Now, I'm not really a Western person. I'm not the kind of person that will actively seek out the Western genre, but if it's good, I will watch it, and I judge it just like I judge anything else, regardless of the fact that it's a Western. Godless is probably the most Western thing I have ever seen in my life. Oh my God, it is so Western. But you know what? It is an absolutely mesmerizing, gorgeous show inside and out. I have never seen anything so gut-wrenching and so heart-tugging and just so genuinely raw and emotional. It is so good. And Jeff Daniels, he actually took home the award for Best Supporting Actor here. I think he's fully deserving of that, but more so the rest of the cast in this show, amazing. This is just an absolutely fantastic, amazing show. It's a must watch. You have to watch this show. It is probably one of the best things I saw on here. Like, hands down, that good. Go watch Godless if you haven't already. The Incredibles 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet. Ah, animation. I love animated films and things. It is probably my favorite form of filmmaking. And this year, we were fortunate enough to get two very highly anticipated sequels. One from a much-loved Disney film that came out just a few years ago, back in around 2014, something like that. And the other, the sequel to a much-loved classic, the highly anticipated Incredibles 2. Now, these movies were both amazing. I loved both of them. They were absolutely worth the wait in many, many ways. With all of that said, did they live up to the hype? Not quite. Don't get me wrong, The Incredibles 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet were fantastic films and I loved them to bits. Ralph Breaks the Internet was a very charming little movie about how friendships grow and change over time, and it was really well done. I just felt that it lacked a little bit of focus that the first movie had. And let's be honest, The Incredibles 2, one of the most highly anticipated films of all time, there's no way it was ever going to live up to that amount of hype. Just no way. And even though it was still really good, it just couldn't quite live up to the excellence of the first film. However, there was one animated film that came out this year that completely blew everyone away.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can.
Look, I know that I said I wasn't gonna play favorites with this list, but Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was the best damn thing that came out this year. Hands down, not even close. Everything about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is just grade A+ and then some. The animation is gorgeous and thrilling and colorful and bright and energetic. I have never seen such an insane amount of creative energy put into an animated film. This is crazy how amazing it looks. The story falls very much into that traditional Spider-Man archetype, but it feels so refreshing and new and revitalized. I can't describe it. It's just so amazing and fun. And having all the characters, especially all the Spider-Mans, all together in one movie, one universe, oh my god, that is just a stroke of pure brilliance. Oh my god, I could not believe how well that worked. Everything about this movie just completely blew my mind. It was just an absolute thrill ride to watch, and it really sucks you in, and it's emotional. Like, you just feel everything watching this movie. It makes you feel good, it makes you see good. Oh my god, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, best movie of the year, my favorite movie of the year. I'm really sad it was not even nominated for Best Feature by the Academy, but you know, they have some sort of bias against animated films. Anyway, I'm sure is going to take down the award for Best Animated Feature, because looking at the competition, even though we got other great films this year, other great animated films, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was just the best one by a long shot. It was not even close. Anyway, that is my list for my favorites of 2018. Hopefully you agreed with them. Maybe there were some that you didn't agree with. And again, if there was something not on this list that maybe you felt should have been on this list, maybe I just didn't see it, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting caught up on everything I missed last year. Be sure to post your comments below and tell me what you think of all these picks. I would love to have a conversation with you guys. I love talking movies, obviously, hence why I'm here. You can also head over to Twitter and over to Facebook and follow me on there. And as always, if you want to know your flicks, you know where to click. Is it this side? I don't know. I'm all out of sorts. 2018 was a good year in movies. I hope you guys had a good 2018. Looking forward to 2019. I will see you all in the next video.